Yeah, my name is David Billett. I'm a family man. I'm 46 years old. I have a wonderful wife, Pamela, and 3 children, my son and my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, who's 5. I spend a lot of time running a small business. We're a healthcare provider, and I've been involved with that for the last 2 years or so. Apart from that, I spend a lot of time trying to renovate this house that we've been in for the last 5 years or so. We just want to get it right. So a lot of DIY, and that takes up a fair amount of my time. Yeah, healing. A very interesting subject. I mean, for me, I've been in situations where I haven't been too well, and I've said, God help me, and suddenly I feel better. Whether or not that's part of my mind at work, I really don't know. And I've seen lots of examples of people claiming to be healed, and it doesn't always look surreal. So I'd really be interested to find out whether or not God still heals today, if it's something he's involved with, or is it just about our natural ability to heal ourselves? I really don't know.
Anybody want a cookie? I'll take one before they get that.
Okay, my name's Lani Edwards. I'm 26 years old. I'm single, but I have a boyfriend. I've got 2 brothers, and my parents live up in Scotland. I work in IT, internet security. My business card says that I'm a business development manager. So it's basically a sales consultancy role. I have a number of interests. I like reading in my spare time. Well, I don't have that much spare time. And also, I do things with kids in a local youth group.
Hey, did you notice yesterday? Did you guys notice?
I think healing's a really difficult subject. You know, no one wants to die, do they? And yet that's the one inevitability of life, that, you know, everyone's going to die at some point. You know, and it's a really difficult one, because some people pray for healing and nothing happens, and other people, you know, apparently experience these miraculous healings where, you know, they were at death's door and nothing could happen, and they prayed or whatever, and suddenly they're all better again. And I think especially when you encounter people in your life that mean something to you, who are sick or going through difficult times, you know, and you want to see them healed, and, you know, it's, why do some people get healed and why do other people not? You know, it's a really tough question. It's something I haven't made up my mind about totally, and I think it's something that I'd appreciate being part of a discussion on, you know, to have my ideas challenged, find out what other people think about it as well.
We're calling it Mind the Gap, a series of conversations we're having in this group about some of the great issues of life. Now, we got the name right out of the English Underground. Watch the gap before you step into the train. This one today, guys, this is a huge one. Now, let me set it up. Steve Martin, have you ever heard of him? Yeah. A movie, The Evangelist. The guy is a quack, a fake healer. In the process of going through his sham and magic, as it were, one night a kid comes forward who can't walk. He's stumbling forward, and lo and behold, the boy gets healed. And the fake evangelist, who knows the whole thing is a sham, is utterly blown out of the water. What is happening here? Now, I accessed that old Hollywood bit of narrative. 2 points. Because there are 2 realities. This subject, 2 realities. Number 1, there are fake healers all over this earth, right? We'll get into that in just a moment. There are fake healers out there. Number 2, there are also genuine healings out there. How are we going to put this together? Our subject today, healing, healing, healing. Now, Althea, you are our lady on the pavement.
It's me with my ear to the ground.
What has been heard on the street regarding healing?
I've heard lots of rumblings and whisperings about this healing subject.
What are they saying out there?
People are talking about the stuff that they hear on TV and see on TV about all these Christian healing programs. What is it about Christians and this healing? Okay. Why do they want to heal?
It's a fair question.
What's going on there?
That one. Let's tackle that one.
And along with that, the programs that they see, they wonder whether it's a bit of trickery, a bit of magic, a bit of hocus pocus going on there. Aren't these people planted? How can that really be? You know, is it really true? People want to know that.
Okay, all right.
the other thing that came out was that why does Jesus only heal some people? If he is the big God, the great, powerful God that people, all the Christians talk about, why is it that some people are healed and some people aren't?
That's a fair question. We'll get to that one.
Seems a bit cruel.
Yeah. Any more?
There's a couple more. A lot of people were talking about the people who seem to be healed have got lots of faith. They think that they've got a lot of faith in Jesus and that kind of thing, and maybe it's only those sorts of people are the ones who get healed. And isn't that a little bit elitist? If you've got to have a lot of faith, therefore you get healed. Don't like that one.
Give me one more.
The big question seemed to be that if God is God and he has all the power and all the knowledge, why doesn't he heal everybody now? Why wait? Why wait?
Okay, all right. Those are some big questions. We'll start putting stuff out on this imaginary table. Let me get our free-for-all going here with this question. Is healing just about Christianity? You got to be a Christian to believe in healing? Huh? No, you're shaking your head. What's up with that?
No, there's a lot of kind of healings going on, not just for Christians.
Okay.
So a lot of people that have different things.
Other religions?
Other religions, non-believers. There's a lot of healing going on. Yeah.
New Age movement.
I think in all kinds of walks of life there are healing kind of features, because invariably people get sick, whether it's whether they're confused, whether they're sort of mentally ill, whether they're physically ill, whether they break bones or things, or whether they're just depressed. And there are lots of people a lot of the time who feel the need for some kind of healing.
So the little box called healing is not reserved. It's not an exclusive possession of Christianity.
No, because everyone
Hindus believe in healing, Buddhists believe in healing, Muslims believe in healing, New Agers.
Also because healing is not just about that miraculous event. It's about restoration of the body, so it can happen gradually. So when you go to the hospital and you have something wrong, and something happens to you, that is a
But
kind
I
of
think
healing.
the questions you're reading, what's heard on the pavement is, let's talk about the miraculous stuff. What Steve Martin was trying to fake. Let's find out if, in fact, that is reality or not. Do people today, we're talking the third millennium now, we're talking 21st century. Let me rephrase that. How big is healing today in our 21st century? Health, healing, how big is it? I mean, can you tell, what's the sense you got?
I think it's quite a big industry at the moment.
Industry?
Industry. I mean, there's a whole thing going on about healing. I mean, if you look, for instance, at the internet, I mean, what I get on my junk mail is basically all about pharmacies and all kind of medication that you can order for any kind of ailment that you have. So it must be big, because otherwise it wouldn't put all that energy into it.
Do you get fads over here, health fads like we do?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these crazies.
Yeah, the healthy eating kick, that's what everybody's into now.
Diet,
In fact, the government have actually set out a new initiative now that people need to exercise and they also need to eat healthily, and you know, the options are endless, but that's a big thing for the government. They're going to sort of pass laws on it.
As the healthy eating goes, you got the salads coming into fast foods, where, you know, McDonald's has a salad, you know, McDonald's has a corn burger. What's the corn burger, you know? Where's your chicken, you know?
You have a corn burger over here? It's called a corn burger.
How do you bring health into fast food eating?
21st century, people thinking health. Now, you have a health system over here called the NHS. What's up with that, Lonnie?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the NHS and also people's interest in health, hospitals in general, I mean, no one wants to die, do they? And everyone, when we get sick, we do everything we possibly can to get better. And especially people who maybe have tried conventional means and they don't work, you know, people will try anything, especially if their health is involved. And you can see that, you know, if you look at people's, you know, upset with the NHS at the moment, with the long waiting lists and the complaints that people have. And, you know, just the other day there was some naming and shaming of some hospitals on the news because some hospitals had some high cases of MRSA, for example.
Now, what's this MRSA?
It's multi-resistant Staph aureus, which is a bug.
Wow. Thank you, Nurse Althea. It's a bug.
It's a super bug.
Is it a serious bug?
It's a serious bug. It's resistant to most, well, probably all antibiotics that are available now. So they seem to be grown in hospitals.
Really?
It's believed to be spread because people
so the public, all of us in the public, it's big stuff. Health, healing, the whole 9 yards, medicine, it's front and center in our consciousness. But I want to pull it back to what Althea was quoting a moment ago, this Heard on the Pavements a series of challenges. Have you ever seen, forget Steve Martin, have you ever seen a faith healer, Ever seen one? See, we got TV over there, religious TV. I don't know if you have it over here. But
we have it here.
Do you have it here?
Yeah.
So you've seen it done?
On the television,
I mean, does it strike you as real?
Well, I mean, you have these evangelists on television, and as the question was posed, it all seems a little too good or a little fake, you know. Somebody comes up, they've got a problem. In many cases, it's people can't speak English that well, and they've got an interpreter, and the actual disease itself, we're not sure if that's true, and then the evangelist puts the hand on the head, and they fly back with the help of these bodyguards. It really doesn't look that convincing.
Now, I want to put a line in. We had another conversation the other day, and I want to insert that line of Jesus of Nazareth. Just as a reminder for me, judge not that you be not judged. Okay, so I don't want to get us into this, well, that kind of wackiness, because there's a lot of sincere seeking for healing going on. But the point is, the questioner was saying, you guys, you Christians, it's this kind of sleight of hand stuff. It's all propped. You've carefully arranged it. It really doesn't take place. I want to get some stuff out on this table quickly. And so let me ask you this no-brainer question. Why is it that Christianity is so heavily connected, Christianity, with healing? What's the reason?
Because of Jesus, you know.
The founder of Christianity.
Exactly, because when he was on earth, he healed people. You know, there was, I think, 41 different instances in the Bible recorded.
Some of them are duplicate,
of him healing people. You know, it just seemed that he was doing it all the time, especially some of the accounts. Like you read Mark, almost every other verse, there's another healing miracle going on.
And actually, he did more healing than he did preaching.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it was that the whole idea of being connected with God is the healing is important, because how can you connect with someone if that person is not well and you just say hello, goodbye? You know, but Jesus was always touching people and trying to make them well again, and that's what salvation, his main message, is about. So I think that's why.
Let's put a couple pieces onto the table here. I've got them scribbled down here. Conchita, Matthew, the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 4. And while she's finding that, Gert, would you go to the same book, Matthew 8? Yeah. You go to verses 16 and 17, Gert, and 23 to 25 from Matthew 4, Conchita. And those of you who are watching on television right now, what we're going to do is just read. We're going to this ancient document. We had a conversation, by the way, about that book called the Bible. If you will follow this Mind the Gap series all the way through, you'll come around, you'll come full circle to that conversation. But let's put some of those lines from Scripture out onto the table. Conchita?
Jesus went through Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them. Large crowds from Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him.
It's not a bum rap, then, to suggest that Christianity is associated with healing. The founder of Christianity himself had this headlined reputation. He's a healer. You need healing, go to him. Thank you, Conchita. Gert, let's put yours out on the table.
Yeah, when we read this a little bit later on, then we see that it's not only during the day, but in the evening he still keeps on working and healing. So he's taking a lot of time for this. It says, when evening came, many who were demon-possessed were brought to him. So they were brought to Jesus. And he drove out the spirits with a word and healed all the sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. He took up our infirmities and carried our diseases.
So there again, historical record states he was a healer.
Yeah.
But you see, I'm the skeptic, and I'm going to say, yeah, right. healer. He's like the healer I see on TV in the U.S. It's all set up. He has his henchmen. They're wearing little earplugs, and they're calling out the conditions, and he's naming them without even knowing. You know, how did he know that I was in this audience? So, were the miracles of Jesus staged? Wasn't that something you read a moment ago?
Yeah, I mean, it seems...
The suggestion was, it's been set up, it's been staged.
Yeah.
And Dave, you got a piece. Somebody have a piece here? Put out. I want to take a look at 2 miracles, 2 of them.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go to you, David. Let's find out if this is a staged one.
All right. This is John chapter 5, starting with verse 5.
Okay.
One who was there had been invalid for 38 years.
Okay, so here's a man in Jerusalem. How long did he say he's been sick?
38 years.
38 years. Now, by the way, just a little bit of background. There's a pool of water in Jerusalem called the Pool of Bethesda. In fact, I went to Jerusalem several years ago, and it's still there. I mean, they've dug it up, and there is the very pool. Superstitiously, they believed that if the waters moved, talking about New Age quackery, they believed in it too. If the waters got moved, first one to step into that water, bing, you're healed. So he's been waiting there for 38 years. 38 years. So he's well known. He's well known in the community. Everybody knows the paralytic by the edge of that tank.
And in verse 8, it then says that, then Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. At once, the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked.
Can you imagine seeing that? I mean, that's your little village. What's the, you know, whether it's Binfield or London, it's your corner. Croydon, it's your corner of the neighborhood. You've seen that man, you've seen him over and over, and now he's walking. Are you thinking, oh, this is a sham? I've been set up, somebody's trying to trick me. No, you know. No. 38 years, it just got reversed. So no setup there, at least in that one. Lonnie, you got another one here, same book.
Yeah, John chapter 9 says, and he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. And then the story continues. Basically, Jesus puts some mud in his eyes, tells him to go wash his eyes. The man went and washed and came home seeing. And then verse 8, his neighbours and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? You know, so they recognised him, they remembered him from, you know, the blind man that had been blind from birth. You know, he has this miracle, he washes his eyes. And suddenly they can see. And it's interesting that the story goes on because some people say maybe it's a different guy. You know, they're suspicious too, just like, you know, we are. And other people say, no, it's the same person. And eventually his parents come along and his parents say, no, this is definitely our son. You know, and they kind of clarify the state.
Just 2 examples. I know, just 2. But the fact of the matter is, this Jesus of Nazareth was a very public figure. He was charismatic. By the masses we read a moment ago, they followed him. You're not, there are no special effects organizations around at that time. It's just what you see is what you get. And the record is clear. It's, the miracles are too widely attested. So we put the evidence on the table. It can't, good question, Althea, but it simply can't be. You can't write it off as some kind of sleight of hand.
And also, he had too many enemies for him to get away with a scam like that. You know, they even killed him because they hated him so much. How could he get away with that? It would be impossible.
That's a good point.
Somebody would have rumbled it.
I want to stay with the miracles of Jesus just a little longer. Folks, it seems that Jesus is recognizing what 21st century medicine is now very keen on, and that is an intimate relationship between what?
The mind
and the body. Isn't medicine today pretty much going that direction?
It has
Holistic,
to. I think people have realised that there needs to be an holistic approach to treating anyone who is ill. You can't, for instance, the person who has something that could be incurable like cancer, when you hear that devastating news, you can't just be treated with chemotherapy and then just left. You have counselling. You have lots of different types of therapy that is going to enable the person to be healed in their mind or helped to understand the illness, what it's going to do, how we're going to help you, and then the physical. So
and
the 2 work together.
Jesus did so much healing because he knew that people couldn't concentrate on what he was saying.
Absolutely.
If their body
Is this a hokey pokey principle?
No, this is why. This is why.
Does it work? I mean, give me an example of it working today. Give me a body and mind example.
Okay, well, I was climbing for a while ago with some guys up in the high Atlas Mountains in Morocco.
Okay.
And you know, when you go up above the 3,500 meters, that's where oxygen becomes rare. And so you take it easier. But I forgot when we got about 4,000 meters. And so I ran ahead of the group to make some pictures while they were climbing up the last bit. And I turned around and it became completely black before my eyes. And the thing that I have learned with kind of breathing techniques is like, okay, I need to think, calm down, calm down. And it was just with my mind that I tried to get my body sort of back to normal.
Did it work?
It worked. It worked. Normally, if I would have started to panic, I would have started to breathe faster and still no oxygen enough, and I would have passed out. So it was immediately, I noticed, like, if I tell myself, it can be so strong. There's so much power in your mind that you can have an effect on your body.
I would agree with that. I remember suffering with asthma as a child, and on many occasions the doctor would be called in, and I remember the fact that I knew the doctor was coming, or that when the doctor arrived, had an immediate calming effect on my whole being. By the time the doctor got there, the situation wasn't severe, but I do understand that it's because my mind now was at ease. I knew help was on its way, and I was able to then have a little bit more confidence in the fact that I was going to get help.
And by the way, those of you watching on television right now, it isn't that you have to have some sort of major conflict to illustrate the principle, or major illness. Fact of the matter is, you can be watching a flat screen. There's nothing behind the screen, folks. Trust me. You're watching a movie, and it's scary, and the orchestra is playing that scary music, and what's happening to you? Your mind is saying fear, 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 and boy, what's happening to your pulse rate? And are you sweating? Do you have IMAX theaters over here? And you're right, and you are just, I'm sweating under my arms, and why? Because of the intimate relationship, mind and body. 21st century medicine says we can plug in on this. But I want you to look at this healer, Jesus of Nazareth, and how he plugged in. Let's see, Althea, you have this one. Gospel of St. Mark, chapter 2. Take a look at this story. There's a healing that takes place here. Notice how Jesus approaches the healing.
Okay.
Verse 3.
Some men came, bringing to him a paralytic carried by 4 of them. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven."
Now, he says, first, I'm going to deal with your mind. And what's going on in his mind? What would the word be? It starts with a G. What's the word in English? What's going on in that man's mind? Guilt. That's it. Guilt.
He feels, I mean, the society at that time made it clear that if you had done something wrong, you were going to suffer in a very bad way, and it usually manifested itself in a physical ailment or disease.
In fact, most people who were ill, it was thought to be a punishment from God, and that's why Jesus did so much healing, I think it was, to actually show that actually this suffering that you have is not something from God at all.
Good point, Conchita, but let me go to Althea here. Read verse 10 now. Read verse 10 in the same story.
But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, he said to the paralytic.
Keep going.
I tell you, get up, take your mat, and go home.
So first he deals with the mind, goes right for that guilt. By the way, Carl Menninger, a psychiatrist, once made the statement, 90% of my cases, if I could deal with guilt, if I could deal with their guilt, if people could deal with their guilt 90% of the time, you don't have a case.
But it is, I suppose it's like that for people who are overweight, grossly overweight. They feel really guilty about eating. They feel guilty about just having one extra bite.
I already do.
And they have to get a... Well, we know you do, yes.
I already
But what's your point, though, Althea?
That they have to get over that in them. They have to really come to terms with... Absolutely. There's a mental blockage.
But also that a lot of illness starts in the mind. And that for many people, the healing has to start with the mind.
First.
Yes. Not just...
And Jesus is tapping into that fact, isn't he, Conchita?
Yes, that is
He's going for
something
the mind
factual
first.
today.
So I'll deal with the body in a minute. Let me deal with your mind.
And it's interesting that he started that approach first, this holistic approach. He knew that the mind had to be... Absolutely. Well, yeah, he made us. But I mean, we have only just got the connection. It's quite interesting, isn't it, that we've come kind of like full circle to see that.
Yeah. Alana, you were starting to say something.
Well, you were talking about how, you know, diseases often start with the mind, but that just reminded me of, you know, people who think they're sick or whatever, and doctors sometimes give them placebo medicines, you know, and they think they're taking the medicines and they think the medicine is healing them, and actually it's just a tablet that's doing nothing, you know, and yet people who take placebos, because the mind is so strong, they truly believe that this is the drug that is healing them, that is making them whole. You know, it's their mind that's doing that, but they see the physical change in their body of being healed because that's what, because it's their mind that's controlling it.
And my attitude toward placebos is, I don't care how strong the placebo is, just keep giving it to me. If it'll work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who would want the real stuff, really?
Darren, I want to put another piece on this table, please. The Book of Proverbs. Now, this is a collection of wise sayings from King Solomon. Ancient literature. But Proverbs 17, verse 22. What 21st century medicine is just cueing in on. Take a look at this.
Sure. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones.
That's now, Darren, you deliver pizzas.
That's right.
Do you spread cheer when you move among your customers?
Yeah, I'd say I see a few happy faces when I bring a hot pizza to the door.
Not so happy when you ask them for the money.
And by the way, Darren, when the tip is bigger, do you feel even more cheer?
Well, yes, let's say
what did you just read again? Give me that line again.
It says, a cheerful heart is a good medicine.
Ooh, what's happening up here is good medicine. Isn't that what Solomon is saying? King Solomon, what's happening up here? 21st century medicine. It's good medicine. 21st century medicine has discovered, in fact, that principle. Mind, body. Okay, so we put that out. So this Jesus of Nazareth, you can't say he's a quack. It's just, it's too far a stretch. You're not even using good logic to make that premise. He's too widely attested. The masses followed him. The word's out. He's bringing healing. B, he's working through the holistic principle, Gerd, as you said, mind, body. Mind, body. Asthma. You see the doctor coming. Suddenly, Dave, you start experiencing relief in symptoms. C, I want to put this on the table as well. Jesus must have been very selective. He picked the easy cases. Why didn't he, didn't you just read that? Why didn't he heal everybody? Now, what's our response? Lonnie,
well,
you have a text there.
I think that's a question that's based in flawed logic. The text that Gert read earlier from Matthew chapter 8, you know, it talks about going into villages and healing all the sick. There's Matthew 8 verse 16. He healed all the sick. You know, and there are several cases in the Bible where Jesus goes into villages and heals every single sick person in the village. Right. You know, and you know, I think, okay, he doesn't. You know, Jesus isn't actually walking here in the UK with us, but I think if he was, you know, he would go into towns, he would go into hospitals, and doctors would be redundant because he would heal literally everybody, because that's Jesus, the historical figure. That's what he did now.
In fact, you have, when you mentioned physicians there, you have a physician who's writing one of the books in the New Testament. His name is Luke. He was a physician. The historical record indicates he was a physician. You have one instance where the individual, it was a woman, had been, the gospel record says, had been to many physicians, had spent everything she had. And by the way, Luke leaves that little line out. He says, I am a doctor, I'm going to protect my professional circle here. And he leaves out the part about she'd been to many physicians and only got worse. But the point is, she had tried everything. And then she goes to Jesus, and he heals her. In fact, I cannot think of one, and I've searched my mind, I cannot think of one instance when somebody came to Jesus and said, may I be healed? And he said, no, not you. No. Not one. Yeah. But today, I can think of 100. I can think of 1,000. People who have said, I want to be healed. But nope. Apparently, anyway, apparently the answer is no. And that question heard on the pavement is exactly right.
Lots of people will say that.
Not
I mean, most of us will
healed.
know someone who feels they haven't been healed.
But you have to face the question. Why doesn't God just do it now? I mean, don't you believers, you Christian, Don't you have an almighty God who sits on the throne of the universe? Why doesn't he just look down at this little tiny planet and say, be healed? And 6 billion children are healed. Why doesn't God do that today?
Because God is a gentleman. He asks permission. And he would not invade somebody's life like that and just go and heal them and sort them out. And the choice they have to make. And we did say earlier on it's connected with faith as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to have it's about relationship. God is establishing a relationship with us.
So God is not a placebo, is he?
No.
God is a relationship.
I do think if God was to heal everybody, there would be no struggle, there would be no... like how you have your relations with your friends or the difficulties in life, the things that build your character and build your thoughts wouldn't be there. I mean,
we'd all just kick back, Darren. You say, bring it on. I'm never going to get sick of this life. I'm going to live forever.
And you'd forget other people.
That's right. And you have to know the source of healing. If healing just came to everybody, you'd say that your particular God healed. I'd say my God healed me, and it's important to know that the real and true Almighty God healed you.
And guys, it's not just healing on the physical level. There's what other kinds of healing can take place? Mental healing. Okay, mental. Give me another one. Emotional healing. Give me another one. Relational. How about relationships?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things for people today.
Look at you're watching right now and you're saying, you know, this is a great conversation. I'm not sick. I don't need any physical healing right now. Wait a minute. Most of us here don't need physical healing right now either. But how about on the emotional level? How about down deep in the mind and the heart that we carry? Broken hearts. How many of us go through life? You're sitting in the tube. How many of those hearts are broken? Lonely people. Dave, your marriage.
Yes, I've been married for 26 years now.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, people say it's wonderful, but I got married very young, at 21, and I don't think anyone who knew us then thought that we would survive for 1 or 2 years. But throughout that time, we both became Christians, and becoming a Christian didn't necessarily make things easier, but it meant that we had a source. At the end of the day, when things were going wrong, we had to come back and say, look, we can't handle this by ourselves. And 26 years later, we're still here, more mature. My wife respects me as a child of God. I respect her as a child of God, and that's what keeps us going.
The pain can get healed.
That's healing.
The emotional baggage can get emptied. And life can be restored, not on the physical, my ankle's working better, but my heart is working better. Oh, my.
Yeah, when
we
my
need
mum
the healing.
Lost her daughter. You would never have thought she could have ever got over that or recovered. She was a broken woman. She really was. She didn't eat, she didn't sleep, she didn't feel. And now, okay, it's been some time, but it's just amazing how things have changed. She has been healed.
She probably doesn't go around saying, I've been healed.
No,
but you can testify to it.
I know. That is one thing for sure. She has definitely been healed. She probably will never get over that, but she can deal with it. She can cope.
Healing on the physical, healing on the emotional, the mental, the relational. And back to that question that you heard on the pavement. Why doesn't God heal everybody now? I'd like to posit one more response, and that is, this isn't heaven yet. Now, God has promised. Revelation, that last book of the Bible, God says the day's coming when I'm going to wipe away every tear. I'm going to heal every disease. There will be no more death. There will be no more hospitals, no more divorce courts, no more bankruptcy filings. There will be no more pain. God's going to have the last word. But this planet, remember another conversation we had? This planet has another prince, and he is saying, this is my kingdom. And God says, all right. Let's let the kingdom play out its last ace. Play the ace in your hand. Let's watch this. But God says, even if I don't heal you now, I have for you what your heart wants most, and I am going to have the last word for you.